Have you ever opened your fridge, spotted a container of leftover rice, and paused for a second before reheating it? Maybe you've heard someone say, "Be careful with rice," or "Reheated rice can make you sick." It sounds strange, especially since rice is one of the most common foods in the world. Billions of people eat it daily, often as leftovers. So why does rice get such a bad reputation when it comes to reheating? Is it actually dangerous, or is this just another food myth that got blown out of proportion? To answer that, we need to understand what really happens to rice after it's cooked, and why time and temperature matter more than the microwave itself, right here on History of Simple Things. Let's start with an important clarification. Reheating rice isn't automatically unsafe. The problem isn't the reheating. The problem is how the rice was handled before it ever went back into the microwave. Rice can be perfectly safe to reheat if it's stored and handled properly. But if it's left out too long or cooled the wrong way, that's where trouble can begin. The main reason rice gets singled out is because of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This bacterium naturally exists in the environment, including soil, which means it can already be present on rice grains before they're cooked. Cooking rice kills most bacteria, but Bacillus cereus can form spores that survive high heat. These spores aren't harmful right away, but they become a problem if cooked rice is left at room temperature for too long. When rice sits out on the counter, especially in warm conditions, those spores can wake up and multiply. As they grow, they can produce toxins. Here's the tricky part. Reheating rice can kill the bacteria, but it doesn't destroy the toxins they may have already produced. So even if the rice is steaming hot, it can still make you sick if those toxins are present. This is why people often say, reheated rice is dangerous, when the real issue is improperly stored rice. If rice is left out for hours after cooking, reheating it later won't make it safe again. So what actually happens if you eat bad rice? The symptoms of Bacillus cereus food poisoning usually appear pretty quickly, often within 1 to 5 hours. Common symptoms include nausea, vomiting, stomach cramps, and diarrhea. While it's usually not life-threatening for healthy adults, it can be extremely unpleasant and definitely not something you want to experience. Now, let's talk about what safe rice handling actually looks like, because this is where most confusion clears up. After cooking rice, it should not be left at room temperature for more than about 1 hour. In very hot environments, even 30 minutes can be risky. Once you're done eating, leftover rice should be cooled as quickly as possible and placed in the refrigerator. That doesn't mean letting it sit out to cool down naturally for hours. Instead, you can spread it out in a shallow container so it cools faster, then refrigerate it promptly. In the fridge, cooked rice is generally safe for about 3 to 4 days. Beyond that, the risk increases, even if it looks and smells fine. Rice doesn't always give obvious signs when it's gone bad, so relying on smell alone isn't enough. When it comes time to reheat, rice should be reheated thoroughly so it's steaming hot all the way through. Cold spots can allow bacteria to survive. If you're using a microwave, stirring the rice halfway through helps ensure even heating. And once reheated, rice should be eaten immediately. Reheating it more than once is strongly discouraged. This brings up another common question. Is it safe to reheat rice multiple times? The short answer is no. It's not a good idea. Every time rice cools down and warms up again, it spends more time in the danger zone. which is the temperature range where bacteria grow fastest. Even if you're careful, repeatedly reheating rice increases the risk of contamination. If you know you won't eat all the rice at once, a good habit is to store it in smaller portions. That way, you only reheat what you need and leave the rest safely chilled. Now you might be wondering, if rice is so risky, why do so many cultures eat leftover rice all the time? The answer is simple. They follow proper storage habits, often without even thinking about it. In many Asian households, rice is cooled quickly and refrigerated almost immediately. Fried rice, for example, is traditionally made using cold, day-old rice that has been properly stored. When handled correctly, it's completely safe. The danger comes from rice that's left sitting out overnight on the counter, then reheated the next day. That's the scenario most often linked to food poisoning cases. Let's also clear up another misconception. Dry, uncooked rice is perfectly safe to store at room temperature for long periods. The problem only starts after rice is cooked and moisture is introduced. Cooked rice becomes a perfect environment for bacteria if left warm for too long. What about rice cookers that keep rice warm for hours? This depends on the temperature. If the rice cooker maintains a temperature above 60 degrees Celsius, it can be safe for several hours. However, not all rice cookers maintain consistent heat, and once the temperature drops into the danger zone, bacteria can start growing. This is why food safety experts generally recommend refrigerating leftovers instead of keeping them warm indefinitely. Another important point is that rice poisoning doesn't mean the rice was rotten or visibly spoiled. The rice can look normal, taste fine, and still be unsafe. That's what makes it deceptive. Unlike spoiled meat or milk, there aren't always clear warning signs. So, is reheated rice safe? Yes, but only if you respect time and temperature. Rice should be cooled quickly, stored cold, reheated thoroughly, and eaten right away. Skip any of those steps, and the risk increases significantly. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.